Any advice from the seated gallery?
Yeah, you know what? I'll go Jake Locker here, just because you know what? I have no idea what they're going to do. I really don't. This is a tough one because I think this is where the trade frenzy begins. I think, you know, either that or the quarterback frenzy begins. And I guess it could be Jake Locker. I'll go to Locker.
Well, and this is another case where no team in the league is going to have a better scouting report on Jake Locker than the Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll coached against him in the Pac-10. Yeah. His former protege, Steve Sarkisian, coached him for 2 years at Washington. So if anybody knows Jake Locker inside out, it's going to be the Seahawks. But even if the Seahawks don't take him, I really think 25 could very well end up being a quarterback spot because, as you said, they have so many needs there, and they've said they're open to trading down. If it's not the Seahawks taking Locker, maybe it's another team coming up for Locker or Dalton or Mallett or one of these other quarterbacks. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Locker go here.
I just don't see Locker lasting this long. I really don't. I think he's a top 15 prospect. I really do.
Shane, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think someone's going to take him at the spot if he falls this far. I'd be surprised if he does. And, yeah, Seattle easily trade down. So this is definitely a good spot for him, whether it's Seattle or not, because I think they're going to buy into Charlie Whitehurst and try to give him a little bit of time before they jump ship this year. But someone will trade up in this late spot. I think 25-26 for sure.
Brandon, what do you think?
I agree. You know, if he's not gone, this is where he's going. Now, whether or not it's the Seahawks that sit here and take him or allow someone to move up from the top of the second round, you know, this is about where he's going to go. And, you know, it's really a shame that he didn't come out last year because he was, you know, a top 10 pick last year. He really didn't do himself any favors by going back to school. But this is where I have him on my board, and I think if he's not the Seahawks pick, someone's going to move up right around here, you know, and snag him.
Talk about pressure, though, him going back to Seattle. I mean, yeah, he decides to stay in school an extra year, and then he's going to remain in the same area. Come on. Let the kid just branch out a little bit.
Well, and as I mentioned, I am still on the Jake Locker bandwagon. I'm rooting for the kid, and I kind of secretly hope he does fall a little bit, so maybe he lands in an Aaron Rodgers type situation where he can sit and learn for at least a year. I think that will give him the best chance to succeed. So, you know, like we saw with Aaron Rodgers, falling isn't necessarily such a bad thing. It's not how you come into the league, it's where you go out, and if he does slip a little bit, maybe he lands in a much better situation as opposed to going to a team in the top 10 where he'd be thrown into the fire with a bad supporting cast. Although he's certainly used to dealing with a poor supporting cast. So I think Jake Locker is going to be one of the most intriguing storylines of this draft. And I can see scenarios where he goes in the top 8 to 10, and I can see scenarios where he falls out of the first round altogether, and everything in between. So there's going to be a Jake Locker watch on draft day, I'm sure. Next up, we got Shane, number 26, the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, thanks for another tough pick right here. You know, I think it's another situation where the Ravens are going to look to trade down. Ozzie Newsome goes best player available, so you know I'm looking at Scott's overall rankings here. The best player available is actually Mark Ingram, running back out of Alabama, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pull the trigger with that pick. But I am not. I'm not going to go out on that limb. I really want to, but I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to go Brandon Harris, cornerback out of Miami. He's got to be close to the BPA. It's a big need. It seems like a Ravens selection if they don't trade down here.
Well, I would like, and there's some, it seems like there's some talk out there that Brandon Harris might fall in the first round, and maybe he will, but to me, he's a first-round caliber player. I like Brandon Harris. He doesn't have necessarily the ideal size you want, but I think he plays bigger, great athlete, great speed. I'd love that. I think he needs help at that corner, so I didn't give that 2 thumbs up. I also think that he's decent to let Will Christensen, Cameron Hayward, but I love the Brandon Harris pick personally. Stuber?
Ooh, I never saw Brandon Harris going in the first round. No, I'm not a big fan of Brandon Harris. I'm sorry. This whole news with Norris Jenkins coming out today, I thought he was actually my third-rated cornerback coming into this draft if he did declare. I think Brandon Harris is more of a nickel kind of corner. I don't see him as being a guy being a star caliber guy. If I was the Baltimore Ravens in this situation, looking at the board, I would probably went with Derek Sherrod. You know, I think offensive tackle would have been a more cleaner pick. Moving Michael Orr out to right tackle and then put Sherrod at left tackle, and then he had the makings of a tremendous, you know, bookend kind of young guys on that line to protect Joe Flacco. I could see Brandon Harris just because cornerback's such a need, but I find it more of a reach than the quality.
Brandon, what do you think?
You know, wide receiver is obviously a big need, but there's just no one here. You know, a lot of people link Torrey Smith up, and he very well may be available in the second round to him. Brandon Harris probably is where I would go. I can't imagine that they're looking at anyone else. They need linebacker help, and just glance at my board, you know, there's nothing there. I'm intrigued by the Mark Ingram comment. I mean, could you imagine Mark Ingram running power and Ray Rice running finesse back there? It would be that's some weapons for sure. But I think probably considering my board and their needs, I would go with Brandon Harris.
Well, and then of course you have the U connection there with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, two prominent Miami alums, and maybe like the Brandon Harris to their club. Although I am intrigued too by what Chris said of Derek Sherbrooke, who I'm a big fan of. I've been a huge fan of his since before the season even started, so I'd like that pick as well. Next up, we have Brandon at 27 with the Atlanta Falcons, and I think you're probably going to have a decision to make here because I think they're in a bit of a tough position. I'm not sure there's value at their number one need.
Yeah, a ton of different options here. I kind of have wide receiver as one of their top needs. You know, I definitely would consider Kyle Rudolph here, though I'm not quite as high on him as some people are. I think if he was selected by the Falcons, he would just be overjoyed, as Tony Gonzalez is his idol basically, and he's grown up modeling his game after Tony G. I think I'm going to maybe do something that I haven't seen in any mock drafts at this point, and I'm going to just reach out and grab Cameron Hayward here. And you know, I think he can play the end there, and I think that that's an issue. John Abraham isn't getting any younger, you know, and I think that he'll fit in nicely on that line and rush the passer.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I don't mind it. I mean, obviously, I think Cameron Hayward's best fit would be in a 3-4 defense, but in Atlanta, they already have that edge rusher, John Abraham. Make Cameron Hayward the base end, where their responsibility more so is stopping the run, more so than necessarily pinning Ziggers back and getting after the passer. And I'm a huge Cameron Hayward fan, so I wouldn't hate it. And at one point, I thought maybe Justin Houston, the local kid from Georgia, could be in the mix, and I actually liked him better as a 4-3 end than he was a linebacker. But as mentioned, that got shot today when it was announced that Justin Houston failed the idiot test at the scouting combine. He flunked the drug test, and there's two ways to look at it. One, the guy's either not very bright because he knew he was going to be tested and he still failed it, or B, he's got such a problem he couldn't help himself. And either way, either option is not good for Justin Houston. So I think that ends any possibility of him slipping into the first round, and I didn't think he belonged there anyways. So I don't hate the Cameron Hayward pick. I personally, in this situation, I might have gone Kyle Rudolph, just value-wise and need-wise, but I don't hate Hayward. How about you, Stuart?
You know, I like Hayward, but I think he's kind of maybe falling to the second round, maybe the top of the second round. I can't argue with a team that does take him because he has a lot of talent, obviously. Kyle Rudolph, you know what? I see him more as a second rounder personally, and I actually think that Luke Stocker is just as good as Kyle Rudolph, as much as I like Kyle Rudolph. I think Luke Stocker is a very underrated tight end in this draft, and a guy who you can probably get in the third round at some point. But if I were picking for the Falcons, I may go Sherrod here, just to upgrade that offensive line. The offensive line, other than Sam Baker, you name another guy on there who's actually pretty decent. So Sam Baker played the right tackle, and then you get Derek Sherrod to play the left tackle, similar to the situation with the Baltimore Ravens with Michael Orr. So I would probably go Sherrod here.
Shane, what say you?
I mean, I can see Sherrod because of the character. I think the Atlanta would value that, but I don't know if teams are going to value Sherrod in the first round or in this late first round, 26, 27. I'll toss out one other name. I think it's a tough pick. Maybe Mark Ingram. Michael Turner can definitely get worn down. I don't think they love Jason Snelling. Norwood's gone. They need another running back there, and I think they'll get one in this draft. Maybe they do it early and take Ingram here if he's still here.
Yeah, well, I was going to just bring that up and throw that out there as a possibility. Mike Turner is got some mileage on his tires, and he's coming around that 30-year-old